All right. Masculine energy leads. It guides. It says, follow me. It gives direction when needed. It provides clarity, but ultimately it leads and it guides, right? So that means that we must know how to assert ourselves. We have to. We have to know how to assert ourselves. We have to know how to give direction. We have to be willing to be seen. These are all things that take courage. And we also need to be able to face threats head on.
Welcome to Forged in Silence podcast, addressing issues men face but rarely talk about. We have Frank here again today for episode 2 of 3. He's got a couple more virtues that we're going to have a awesome conversation about. But first, we're going to start out with the how are you reallys. And because Robbie just got here, I'm going to ask him first, and then you can lob that ball to whoever you want, Robbie. So, how are you really, man? How are you?
I'm a little frazzled. But I'm here, you know.
Tell me more about your frazzledness.
Had to rush home. Didn't realize what was going on, so here we are. And got to switch into podcast mode. But just another day.
Just another day. You've podcasted enough. You're basically living podcast mode, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Turn it on and off, no problem. But I'm doing well, yeah. Got a trip to Utah tomorrow. Be gone for a few days, and had to get ready for all that. Later tonight, I got to finish getting ready, so it's a work trip, so pretty excited about that.
Nice.
And I'm going to lob this back to Steve.
Oh, Frank, you're last. We're going to save the best for last. I'm pretty kind of frazzled too. I can feel my nerves. I got, the nerves are there. I got a long 3,200 miles of driving ahead of me, to pick up my kids. I'm super excited to see them. And I think that's probably part of that anxiety that I'm feeling is it's getting really close, and tomorrow after work I start hitting the road, and so I just, that feeling of getting a little bit closer to the thing that you're really looking forward to. So I think that's that anxiety that I feel. I could feel it. It's right here in my chest, and so I'm definitely feeling that. Probably also because there's a couple things, loose ends I need to tie up, pack my bags and stuff like that before I leave tonight. I'm not leaving tonight, before I go to work tomorrow. And then, because I plan on leaving right after. I'm not going to waste any time. So, yeah. So that's how I am. I got a little bit of anxiety going on, little antsiness, itchiness, whatever you want to call it. So that's where I'm at. Frank, now it's your turn. How are you? Really?
How am I really?
Yeah.
So this is well timed. I'm gonna go with, because the ones that I said last time are still true. Yeah, grateful, excited, but I'll add to that slightly nervous.
Ooh.
Yeah, slightly nervous, and that's true every time the record button gets hit, whether it's a podcast, whether it's live, whether it's going to be edited. Regardless, there's always some nerves, and I thought I'd speak to that one today because today we're going to talk about courage. So, and this is really well timed with what you guys are saying too, because Robbie, you have to switch hats and you have to switch gears in the moment. You have to do it. You have to improvise. You have to do it spontaneously. Steve, you're dealing with a little bit of anxiety because there's the little bit of the fear of the unknown or a hint of uncertainty. And I just think it's kind of perfect, because we're all on this episode and in this moment going to anchor into courage just a little bit, or a lot,
or not at all. No, I'm just kidding.
What would that look like?
What would that look like?
What would that look like?
What, like no courage at all?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't be here.
Oh,
Me
right.
too.
Avoidance.
That's
right.
Yeah. That's exactly what that would
Avoidance. Or just dead silence.
Yeah, there would be that. There would be, which would be another form of just avoiding it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if anybody gets quiet or signs off, that's
yeah,
it.
we know why. It's not that kind of day. It's not that kind of day.
No.
No, I think one way or another, you kind of just figure it out. I'm definitely the dumbest one in the room by a long shot. And so my mind has just been on all day, just muddling through and figuring stuff out. And so I can feel, I'm not physically tired at all, but I can feel the mental tiredness of just like the sponge filling up and then just being tired and not wanting to get up in the morning because I'm just, my head's feels a little full. And so it's just going to take some getting used to. But other than that, okay. I think we should dive in. Just dive right into the next two virtues. Frank is going to talk about courage and vitality after our first episode where we talked about the Brotherhood and
discipline.
Yeah. And so it all ties into the Brotherhood really, really well. And we stayed on the Brotherhood topic pretty good. And it's the overarching theme. And anyways, Frank, I'm going to hand it over to you. And go for it.
All right. Let's do it. So, yeah. So just a reminder, 6 key masculine virtues is what we're diving into in this 3-part series that I'm very fortunate to have been invited to do with these guys who I met a week ago.
Just over a week ago.
A week ago. Yeah. So last what was it, Thursday? Did we record on Saturday? No, it's Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, it's Thursday. We I can't remember now if it was Thursday or Wednesday. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Last week, we dove into Brotherhood and discipline, the first 2 virtues of the Iron Brotherhood. Today, we got courage and vitality. After that, we'll wrap things up with temperance and integrity. And I want to do the same thing that I did last time without going into a 10-minute monologue on my backstory. If anybody wants to know who I am and why I'm here, you can go listen to episode 1, and I have a nice long monologue on my story of how and why I created the Iron Brotherhood. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to cut you off here 1 minute. So if you go on another Frank monologue, if you see me starting to pick my nose, that's your cue, right? Like if I'm just mining for nose gold to feed the townspeople, I need you to like, what are you? And like, you're going to have to stop.
Yeah.
That'll be the subtle cue.
Very subtle. Yeah.
Right?
That's fingers.
Just
one in each nostril.
He's not buying it.
Got it.
Okay.
All right. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you guys about courage first. I want to introduce it, and then I want to give a couple prompts for us to just like chat like we did last time, and dive into some conversation, because this is a topic that I think everybody can relate to. But first, I want to say, why. I want to crystallize the why I chose courage as a virtue, as one of the top 6 key masculine virtues that I think men need to anchor into if they are on a journey of masculine mastery, if they want to step more into their masculine energy. So why courage? All right. Masculine energy leads, it guides, it says, follow me. It gives direction when needed. It provides clarity, but ultimately it leads and it guides, right? So that means that we must know how to assert ourselves. We have to know how to assert ourselves. We have to know how to give direction. We have to be willing to be seen. These are all things that take courage. And we also need to be able to face threats head on. We need to remain strong, even in the face of danger, even in the face of threats and fear. This is why I think it's important that any man on the journey of cultivating more masculinity or stepping into his masculine energy needs to anchor into the virtue of courage. It's a foundational virtue for this journey. And what I'll do for a moment, just to give a different perspective, is, and we talked about it for just a second, a couple minutes ago, is talk about what the opposite of courage is, or what a lack of courage could look like. So a lack of courage is, which you said a moment ago, Steve, is avoidance, right? It's running. It's when we're met with resistance or conflict or confrontation, rather than moving toward it, we run the other way. We move away from it. That's what a man who doesn't have courage will do. So even if he is disciplined, even if he has a circle of brothers to support him and to get inspired by, if he doesn't have courage, when he's faced with extreme discomfort, when he's faced with resistance, he's going to move the other way. He's not going to move toward it. What else does it look like? It looks like apologizing for wanting more, apologizing for having needs, apologizing for having a position, having an opinion on something. It's almost like apologizing for your presence. And
for being there.
What's that now?
Yeah, for being there.
For being there. Yeah. And then it also comes across as passivity. That's another way a lack of courage can manifest, is passivity. You're in an exchange, you have your needs, you don't speak about your needs. You only hear the needs of the other person. You have boundaries that you want to set, but you don't set them. You let other people walk all over you. You let other people disrespect you. You let other people you don't protect the perimeter of you.
So you abandon yourself for others' comfort.
Right. You don't say no. You don't set those boundaries. You don't protect the perimeter of you. If you are not able to protect the perimeter of you, how can you protect other people? So this is why courage is important. This is why it's incredibly important. And I want to throw a couple things out that we do in the Iron Brotherhood, and then we could kind of dive into some conversation on them. So one thing that I mentioned is assertiveness. We definitely talk about asserting ourselves in the Iron Brotherhood. I encourage the guys, and we encourage each other to set boundaries, to say no when we need to, and to ask for what we want, to recognize that our needs matter, and to ask for what we want, and to speak to standards and expectations, and to be able to have those uncomfortable conversations. And then something else that we do, some pretty deep work. It takes a lot of balls, but it's also incredibly powerful. It's probably one of the most powerful things that we do on the journey, is in order to be courageous and face external fears, we need to be able to face the scary shit that's within ourselves. Mm-hmm. We got to start there. We got to face the things inside us. We need to be willing to peer into the abyss of ourselves, into our psyche. And that means being willing to face fears that are deep beneath the surface, somewhere in the unconscious, deep-rooted fears. Do we have a fear of rejection? Do we have a fear of abandonment? Mm-hmm. Do we have a fear of failure? And being willing to explore that, own it if it exists, and then possibly go even deeper into the self-limiting belief that's underneath it. This is some really, really deep work that requires a lot of courage, but it's also life-changing. It's life-changing. And if we could face these things in ourself, the external stuff starts to feel less scary, a lot less scary. And I think that courage is built like a muscle, that the more courageous acts we take, the more courageous we become, and the more we're able to call upon courage. And it starts with ourselves. It starts internally. So I'm gonna shut up. I didn't see you pick your nose, but I was
the thought crossed my mind. It crossed my mind. I was like, but I'll let him finish his point first and see if he goes somewhere else with it.
No, that's
and
it.
Then,
I wanted to crystallize the why. I wanted to tell you what lack of courage looked like, and I wanted to tell you some of the stuff we do.
You know what? Sometimes you just need to set the example.
You or me.
No, I was setting the example of lack of
you said the
courage
example.
because I was like, I'm not going to pick my nose. No, I'll wait. I'll abandon myself just to let Frank talk.
Robbie and I are going to pick our nose when you start talking.
All right, that's fine. Go for it. I'm going to talk until you guys start picking your nose because that's what I want to see.
All right.
I want to
all right.
see who has the courage to start mining for nose gold first.
You got it.
All right. All right. So
Now you have to talk.
I'm gonna. You said something that I noticed in myself, and that was I apologized for a lot of things that I didn't need to apologize for. You said I'm sorry, saying I'm sorry for things. And I actually have a journal entry that talked about this, and I wanted to understand why the heck I said sorry for so many things, because I didn't. And so to understand that, I decided to write down what my definition of sorry was going to be. So I gave myself something like a launch pad to go off of, right? An apology was for essentially if I made a mistake, that I would apologize for it and then correct it. It was something that I would correct. I wouldn't apologize for anything outside of that realm. I looked up what the definition of an apology was, and then I wrote down what an apology was going to mean to me. So in this way, I had a framework for what saying I'm sorry was.
Mm.
And then I went out into my life and decided to follow that definition. And if that definition needed to be changed, I allowed myself to be flexible. Maybe I got it wrong. It doesn't mean I'm right, but I allowed it to be flexible. What happened was I found I ended up shutting up a lot more and letting other people fill the space that my apology, my sorry, was filling. So then I let other people, when you shut up like that, other people, most of the time, are going to start taking responsibility for their own stuff because the pause creates tension. And I didn't realize that that's what was going to happen when I changed the when I I didn't even change it because I didn't know what my definition was. I just said sorry in the pause. So I had a feeling, a sense of control. And you don't. It's just, it's this false positive lie thing that you do to keep yourself comfortable in the presence of others. And so when I started following that, even even at work, in places where I would shut up, I would be like, wait a minute. Like I would say, no, I don't need to apologize for this. And inside the conversation in my own head created the pause, and it allowed other people to respond. And it happened like 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, wait a second. This is brilliant. I actually get to hear what these other people are thinking and saying and wanting to solve, or whether they're going to take responsibility for it or not, because I always took those opportunities away. What I found was my self-confidence increased like tenfold. And I didn't know at all, but I could feel it. I could feel, okay, like this is way more the right thing to do. And then I started really modifying how I was going to do that. And that definition still to this day hasn't changed. It served me very well. And it's made it difficult. It was very difficult in the beginning because I had to figure out new language. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the words. I like, if I'm going to say sorry and use it within that definition, I'm not going to say sorry for your loss. I'm going to try and find a different heartfelt way to say the same thing. I'm not going to say, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm going to try and find a way to empathize differently using different words because it doesn't match the definition. I don't want to sympathize. I want to empathize. I want to show up. I want to be there in a different way. And so it made me really examine what my language was going to be. And I didn't have the language for it, but it made me think. Man, did it ever make me think. And so I wanted to bring that up about saying I'm sorry, because that one thing made a giant change in how I saw myself.
I've got a couple different thoughts with my own experience. So saying I'm sorry was the people pleasing part in me due to the abandonment of my father. So if I could say I was sorry for everything, I would keep that carrying there for myself, thinking, well, I will just say I'm sorry and make sure that they still feel something for me because I'm sorry. I would do whatever they needed to have done or to make them not uncomfortable, you know, the whole people pleasing thing. And then there's another, you know, factor that comes into this with you know, the toxic masculinity part of being beaten down by not having boundaries and no self-worth and letting someone take control of you and continue that control because they don't have no control for themselves. And it was like a balancing act. I can think about it now where I would people please, I'm sorry, at work, family, random people on the street. You know, you'd go to the gas station, say you're sorry for something, whatever it is, you know, when it's their job to actually do what they're supposed to be doing. Then the other part of the sorry was in a relationship was, oh, I don't want to cause any disagreement. Yep. So I'm just going to say I'm sorry all the time. So there's no disagreement there. And
take responsibility for it to avoid the conflict.
100%. And through this self-work, I found that a lot of it tends from the abandonment part of my father, where, you know, I was always just on that line of wanting someone to care about me, a man to care about me. And that man was not there to care about me. With women, I was a different thing until I got into relationships. Then it was the conflict part. But with men, it was always, I would put my head down. I would cower. I no self-worth, didn't know how to set myself boundaries with men. So I was always, what's the word? The pussy. I'm just going to say that. I was the bitch. I would let anyone rule me in my friend group because I wanted to be wanted by another man. And it's really weird for me to be saying that out loud right now because I know a lot of men suffer with this. And now with how society feels about men and masculinity, mine's like a two-part: abandonment, and that people pleasing, then relationship part of the whole conflict. And kind of like what Steve was saying, once I learned how to set boundaries, and I had to set two different sets of boundaries, one with relationships and one with myself for the abandonment, people pleasing. And I had to figure out how to balance them and bring them together in this road. And it's been a lot of work, and it's going to be a lot of work till the day I die. But it's so interesting when I was hearing you speak, Frank, that you were talking about courage and boundaries and all this stuff. And really, that was my foundation to becoming where I'm at now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, what you said about men, well, about you. I want to make sure I get your words right. I wanted to be wanted by another man, right? That's a lot. I think I was going to say it's a lot more common than you realize, but I don't think that's true. I think you do realize now how common that is. It's a
Yeah.
lot more common than the people listening and most people realize. And maybe the people listening are aware of it, but most people aren't. Most people aren't. There's actually a lot of men out there who want that very thing, and they don't even realize that they want it. They haven't done the work to reveal that, because it takes courage. It also takes other stuff too. You got to be a little bit of a detective. You got to know what to do. You got to know the ways to get into the depths of your unconscious mind and into your psyche, and that's not easy. There's different levels of depth in the psyche, in the unconsciousness, and there's stuff that is so deep in there we just can't access it. And then there's stuff that's right on the border of lower consciousness and then entering into the unconscious, and usually that's deep-rooted fears. A lot of people are just like, yeah, I probably have a fear of failure. I mean, I don't feel it in this moment, it's not in my consciousness right now, but I know that it's operating somewhere in my subconscious. Like I feel like I could kind of access that. But if you want to go deeper and you want to start accessing, the self-limiting belief that is causing that fear, and access that, you have to go even deeper into the unconscious. So deep that it's at the lowest level of the unconscious mind, according to Carl Jung and a few other psychologists. It's in the lowest level of the unconscious mind, before you get into the territory of like, this is the part that is primal and we just can't access it. It's the deepest level. So it takes a lot of work to get there. It's not always going to emotionally resonate the way something that's at the tip of our unconscious might. Because it's like, I could kind of feel that. I could feel my way into that. Stuff that's that deep, it's hard to feel our way into it. We have to play detective instead, and we have to look at patterns. So
There's
something like,
there, you just said it, patterns.
yeah,
What are you avoiding?
right.
Because that's the first place to look. That's the
Yeah.
first place to start digging. Like,
What
what are
are
you
you
not
resisting?
doing that
Right.
you're supposed to be doing, or I hate using this. You should be doing. There's something
Yeah.
everyone has it. Everyone's got that little itch, that little voice that says, "Man, I know I should be doing this," but and you just decide not to.
Yeah.
It's there. It's nagging.
Right.
What are you afraid of?
But without courage, we won't even get past step one.
No, you
That's
just
step one of
avoid the
accessing our
discomfort.
self-limiting beliefs is being willing to face the discomfort of that resistance and peer into it and lean into it and go deeper. Step two is being able to identify the fear. And then finally, step three, if we can get there, is getting down into the self-limiting belief that is causing that fear. Something usually rooted in some childhood experience that broke our spirit or traumatized us or was devastating or broke our heart, or made us question our worth. But it's hard to get there, and it starts with courage. You got to have the courage to go to the uncomfortable places. And, well, Robbie, I mean, you got to see what's on the other side of that. It's a fucking breakthrough. It's life-changing. It's a paradigm shift. It ripples into every area and every aspect of your life. It's not just like, oh, it's going to make me communicate a little differently. It's going to make me show up differently in my romantic relationships. Nope. It's going to change everything.
So I'm going to talk about a fear
Yeah,
that I didn't know existed, but I operated under with that fear being probably part of the main operating system as to what I did and what I didn't do. And that was the fear of change. Like, if I went and did the thing, whatever that was. Well, and for me, I'll talk about reading, because I wasn't a reader. I am now. But I'll talk about reading because I came up with every excuse in the book to not read. And I'm a huge proponent of Robbie's heard this story. And Robbie was part of this story because he's been there through this. And I'm a huge proponent of the words that I speak about, that I say about myself are a message to my subconscious, because I can hear me talk. So I'm way more careful about my words than I ever have been. But I used to say all the time that I'm not a reader. I don't read. Right? It's not something that I do. And that's anybody who says that they don't have the attention span to read, and it's just not something that they're interested in, and blah 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 blah, you're just lying to yourself. You're out of practice. I hadn't read in so long that when I sat down and read for 5 minutes, my attention went somewhere else. And then I got frustrated. And then I'd tell myself I'm not interested in this book. And then I came up with all these excuses. So I set a time limit. Read for 15 minutes. Just read for 15 minutes. Sit through the discomfort of my brain reading for 5-10 minutes. And then I'm a space cadet. My mind goes somewhere else. And I'm thinking about something else, and I'm reading the same paragraph 3 times over again, and I'm frustrated. No, I'm not done my time yet. And I have an accountability partner. His name was Robbie. And so I'm going to sit through the discomfort. One of the books I read was The 4 Agreements. Wonderful book. And it talks about limiting beliefs. This is why I'm circling back with this story.
Yeah.
Because I had a whole bunch of limiting beliefs around reading. And one of those limiting beliefs was, what if I read something that was going to change the way I saw the world so much that you can't take it back? And then what happens if I get educated enough that I'm now smarter than what I was, and then these people aren't going to like me anymore? And so on and so forth was the root of why I didn't want to try and read, because people were going to leave me. My fear of abandonment.
Yeah.
Keep going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
What is my limiting belief around that? Well, I created so many to keep me away from it. That
we have limiting beliefs that are in the consciousness, but which are rooted in a fear that's in the higher part of the unconscious mind,
Yep.
which is rooted in the self-limiting belief that's the catalyst for all of it.
Right.
But you created, I love how you're reverse engineering it. I'll let you do it. You created the self-limiting belief around reading because ...
Yeah. And it was like, if you talk about it, like the Brotherhood, Robbie, the connection, communication, accountability.
Yeah.
Right. The courage to actually turn around and say, this is something that I want to change. This is something that I want to do. I want to be a reader now.
Yeah.
So then that the determination to sit through that discomfort. And as I sat through the discomfort, I started realizing that it had nothing to do with reading, but the action of reading opened up more because I sat through my own discomfort. And that's what it comes down to is how much discomfort are you willing to put yourself through? Because that's what you're going to settle for.
Yeah.
Well, one thing, Frank, you brought up was, step one. And, listening to Steve now, you figured that out. A lot of men don't even know how to figure that out, or, don't even know that's a problem.
I got frustrated with feeling stupid because that was the word in my head. If I'm not a reader, I'm stupid. And if I kept myself stupid, then I kept myself comfortable.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure now when you hear your words coming out of your mouth, how silly it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I know other men out there listening are now going, fuck. Steve just opened the door and Frank opened the door to a whole bunch of stuff. So, Frank, how would you Steve and I can go pretty deep. So can you. I know you can, Frank. We've all done the self work. We're still going to do the self work, continuous journey. But I always like to go back to where if someone opens the door and they start to step through, what do they do next? Because it's really scary. And I know we've been there and we're going to keep going there. Now I look into that and push into that. And that fear is something that I build off of, motivates. But I know in the beginning, that door was scary. What can you give for advice for when you open that door and you start to lean in?
So I'm going to speak about this in the context of what I do and why I think the men I do it with are able to face that fear that you're referring to, Robbie. So in month 3 of the Iron Brotherhood, when we dive into courage, we talk about the sub virtues of courage. We do talk about assertiveness. We do talk about ownership and giving up victim thinking and owning our lives. We talk about all of that, but when we get into the self-limiting belief stuff, you know, at this point in the journey, the guys have already forged a brotherhood in month 1. They're already starting to be more disciplined in month 2, and they're starting to maybe get competitive in a playful way in month 2 through discipline. So there's a strong foundation now. These guys trust each other. They've been vulnerable with each other. This is taking vulnerability to the next level, and one brave man will go first. And we will be in a Zoom meeting just like this, except imagine 8 to 12 guys and me coaching it. And we will start with some spotlight time with one guy. And for 20 minutes, I will just ask questions and I'll tell him, listen, your only job is to be present, to be willing to be seen, and to keep an open mind. That's it. And if I take you too deep, you could stop me at any time. And he has his brothers around him, which in some ways that could be scary too, but in other ways I always tell the guys, I say, listen, those of you who are not in the spotlight when I'm working like this, you still have an active, important role on this call, and that's your presence. Because the guy who is being spoken to right now, he feels your presence. He feels your support. So don't look at your phone. Don't look away just because it's not your turn. Give him all your energy and focus. Show up for him through your presence. And I think that when a man feels like he's backed by a powerful brotherhood like that, and he knows everybody else is going to go and do the same thing, that gives him that courage to take the next step. And it's hard for the first guy. It is. It's a little scary. But, and I'm not saying it's not scary for the other men who go. However, after they've seen one person go and just courageously lower themselves with this imaginary rope into the abyss of their psyche, into the scary places, and then be able to pull themselves back out, but that they were willing to do that in front of all of us. The other guys, it's really, really cool. It's really special to see what happens, because in the upcoming the guys who go in the meetings to come that month, it's almost like they bring this determination of like, it's not like it's competitive. It's almost like they want to honor the other brothers and be like, I feel like I owe you this in the best way possible. It's a positive feeling, but it's a sense of duty of, I'm not going to let my brothers down. I'm going to go for it. They did it. Now I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it courageously. I don't care how scary it is. I'm going to go for it. I've seen it happen time and time again. So I'm not saying that's the only solution to how do you overcome that fear, but it's definitely one. Is brotherhood, is having a group of men who are all there to do that very thing right alongside you and to support you through it. That's definitely a great way. That's a great way to overcome it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, in the beginning of being in meetings with other people, it was very awkward. It was very scary. But now it's like, bring it. Let's talk about this shit. Let's go deep. Let's go real deep. And I know that can overwhelm other people too when, I'll just go super deep and, I'll just bring shit up. I don't care. I'm vulnerable. I don't have a filter. You want to talk about some shit? Let's talk about it. And that's why I love this podcast too. It's therapy. Just talk it out. Giving space to each other, and when it comes out of my mouth, it means something. I've learned when I write something down, I can fake it, so I'm not very good at journaling. But when it comes out of my mouth and I can hear it, I have to own it. So that's what helps me. Just speaking, and I know Steve knows this because we've had very length talks, and yeah, just the brotherhood, just having someone else there to support you is very crucial. And I agree with you that it's probably why I'm here, with just the support I've got from other people that I really don't know online.
Strangers saved my life, man.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then when you can give back, I know for me, and I would like to hear your thoughts on this too, Frank, when you do a lot of work, stuff changes and you see stuff a lot clearer, and you're like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but you're on the other side a lot of the times now when new people are coming in and you see it. And I know for me, a lot of times I'm like, just keep your mouth shut, and it hurts because I'm that people pleaser and I just want to stick my arm out and say, hey, follow me. This is the way. But we know that's not the right way. We can give them help, but leading someone with the way you've done it isn't the way they always need it. So when you're standing on the other side and you see someone calling for help, and this is another part too, they're calling for help, but they don't know what kind of help they need, especially in the courage part, because that's a weird one. How do you, the brotherhood can help, I understand that, but like one-to-one, how do you deal with that?
Carefully.
That's what I've learned too. Like, yeah, you're like, skipping around a little bit.
So you have to speak to what they want first, not what they need.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this, peer to peer, if you were, coaching someone, I know what they need. Likely. I'm not always right, but I have an idea of what they need, but they may not be ready to hear what it is that they need. So then I have to entice them with what they want. As long as what they want isn't directly in conflict with what they need, and it usually isn't. Sometimes it is, but it usually isn't. When it isn't, I could use that to entice them. I can entice them with what they want, and little by little, I have to build trust and rapport with my guys. And that could be done one-on-one. It could also be done in the brotherhood. It's one of the reasons why I talk about playfulness and levity, is because I do think that bonds are forged through that and trust is formed through that. Yeah. And it's a safer way. It feels a little easier. And once they begin to trust me more and more, I see how far I can take them. But I've made the mistake before. I've made the mistake because I get incredibly excited and passionate when I see someone and I see a block or a barrier, something that's standing in their way, and I know what vehicle I can give them to help them get to the other side. Sometimes I let my excitement and my passion get the best of me, or I just make the wrong call. And I don't use I use my best judgment in that moment, but I just don't always get it right. And then I realized, like, oh, they weren't ready for that. They weren't ready. And now I've actually created more resistance. So now I have to earn my trust back. Yeah, that happens. That happens sometimes. It's par for the course. And I have to accept that. But yeah, carefully and strategically. Yeah, it takes a really, really deep understanding of humanity and people and the way that we operate, and helping and knowing who's who. Everybody's different, knowing who you have to really ease your way in to help disarm them and get their guard down and earn their trust. And then once you do, you could say anything to them. And the ones that are just like, hey, listen, man, I've done some of this work before. All right, shoot straight with me. Just fucking shoot straight with me. I don't beat around the bush. Just give it to me raw. I got those guys too. And those are fun. I love working with those guys because I'm just like, all right, let's talk. This is going to be hard to hear, but I know you can handle this. Let's dive in. And they trust me so much that I could say anything to them, no matter how hard it is to hear. They know it's coming from a place of love. So they take it in objectively. And when you get there with somebody, oh man, you could do magic. It's amazing what you guys can do together. Amazing.
It's taken me forever to even take a criticism like that.
Yeah.
To not take criticism like that personally.
I think people know coming into working with me that's what this kind of journey, that's what this journey is like.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm that kind of coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fun, sure. I'm playful, I'm goofy, but I'm tough. Because I'm never going to pin myself against you, but I'm going to pin you against versions of yourself, and in a way that feels very confronting. And that could create a lot of tension. It could be very scary and very uncomfortable, but that's why you hired me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to be a better man,
Yeah.
a better version of you.
You come to me and you say, Frank, I want to be confident. I'm in my 40s and I've spent the last several decades not feeling confident. Oh, okay. That's it. That's all you want. It's a big deal. That's not something that most people achieve, that kind of transformation. You come to me and you say, Frank, I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, cool. I'll send you to another coach who's a lot less expensive, who will help you lose 10 pounds. But you want a paradigm shift. You want to change your entire fucking mindset, and you want it to ripple into every area of your life where you feel like a new person. Guess what? That's going to take a lot of discomfort, and you need to be willing to squirm. But yes, let's go on that journey. Let's do it. Yeah.
Vitality.
Why vitality?
After you find the courage to squirm.
Yeah. So masculine energy protects, right? We're protectors. It makes our woman or our wife or our girlfriend or our partner, our kids feel safe, right? So we have to have presence. We have to have presence, and we have to have strength to do that. This inner world stuff that I've been talking to you guys about, being a disciplined man who is self-led, that's important. It's foundational. Being courageous, it's internal, and it's important, and it's foundational. But what about the external? What happens when danger is at your door? Is your family going to feel safe knowing that, like, you can hold your own? And again, I'm not just talking about physical strength, although I do think that is a big part of it. I do think that we need to be fit. We need to optimize our strength. Do I think that we need to be fucking ripped? No, I don't. But vitality is the external embodiment of the man we're becoming. And we are biologically different than women, if you are of that belief. I believe we are. And I believe that that because of that, and because we are, in most cases, physically stronger, that it is our duty to optimize that. And if we are in the role of masculine protector, then we need to look like somebody who can protect. We need to be able to scare off danger. And that is with, yes, partially physical strength, but also just presence, our physical presence. Like, before we say a word, yes, our words are good. Our words are important, and courage can come through in our words. But what comes through in our physicality? And that's where vitality becomes important. I'll do what I did with courage for a moment. I'll talk about what a lack of vitality could look like, a lack of physical presence. So that's small energy. That's body language that looks defeated and is hunched over or small. folded arms, making yourself look small. It's a small voice. It's someone who shrinks in front of others. If you are a leader, if you are a father and you're young and your daughter is watching that, you're teaching her the kind of man that she should pursue when she's older. You're teaching her who to marry. You're teaching your son who to become. If he sees you shrink in front of other men, that's telling him something. Your presence, our presence, it has to reflect all the other virtues, and it has to be able to come through in the way we carry ourselves, the way we take up space, our virility, our voice. So these are the things that I dive into in the Iron Brotherhood, and I'll open it up for questions and discussion. But it's virility is a big one, and it's totally okay to start with the question of what is virility, because before I wrote my book, I had to figure out that to answer that, and it took a lot of fucking research. What it's for virility and optimizing our virility. It's physical strength, and it's our presence and our voice, something that gets neglected by most people. I'm taking a different approach with this one, so you don't have to pick your nose. I'm opening it up to questions.
Yeah, no, I was going to say presence, and I've been around some men that are, puff their chests out, and not in a bad way. No, it's in a very good way. It's in a very masculine way. And listening to you talk reminded me of those people. And if I needed someone, they were the people I wanted on my team. Presence is a big thing. And another thing you mentioned was if you shrink in front of your kids or your spouse or your family, that one kind of hits home, because it's showing something to them that you might not think in your head, but they are taking that in. And I've been around a lot of loose cannons growing up, and those aren't the people I want either. But there's something about a man with presence that doesn't have to say a word, and is just there standing tall, and you look at him and look him in the eyes, and you're like, oh shit, this guy means business. And that's someone I want my daughter to look at me and go, oh, dad's giving me that look. Oh, dad's standing there and he's giving this other person that look. I better keep my mouth shut. I think that's really important, and I've kind of lost track of that because it was not something going through this journey. And I'm glad you have this in your step 4 part, because now I'm going to go take this and go, shit, I need to get back to my virtue, and that and like use my voice, use my presence, stand proud. I've done a lot of work. I should show it and not cower, like I was talking about earlier, to succumb to what society wants me to be or other things that might go in my mind, as Steve was talking about.
That energy and that presence matters. It really does. Yeah. And I pulled from a lot of things when I started diving into what vitality was going to look like. And one of the things that I pulled from was my background in acting. And I'm mostly Meisner trained, for those listening who follow acting. And what that means, well, it means a lot of things, but one of the biggest things that it means is that we typically work from the inside out, meaning we connect to the circumstance emotionally first, and then we let that emanate outward into truth, into how we behave. It starts from the inside. And one of the things that we were taught later on in the journey, I think it wasn't until we got into year 2 of this conservatory, is the external part of it, which is like, okay, but what if your character has an accent? What if your character walks a certain way? What's their physicality? How do they speak? Do they have a speech impediment? Do they have a limp? Like how can you embody this character? And what I found fascinating was that when I started working on things externally, it actually made me feel different internally.
Mm-hmm.
So they're mutually reciprocal. When we want to elicit a change in ourselves, when we want to evolve and reach our maximum potential, the internal and the external are equally important. You know, I've caught flack for talking this way about, like, you know, well, yeah, think about your body, think about your physique. Yes, work on your voice. Well, what about just being authentic, Frank? Why can't I just be authentic? You could be authentically working on yourself. That's what you can do, is that you can be authentic in saying, I want to be my best self. And the same way that you could work on losing body fat or putting on some muscle, our voice is an instrument. It's an instrument, and you could work on it, and you could learn how to use all of it. You could learn how to enunciate. You could learn how to slow down. You could learn how to use your upper and lower register and find some musicality in the way that you speak. It's not being inauthentic to do that. It's absolutely grounded in authenticity. If the journey is about, I want to use all of my voice, it's actually more authentic than using only part of your voice because you never explored it. So all of these things are things that we scratch the surface on in the Iron Brotherhood, as we dive a little bit into each of these areas. We even talk about style. How does that affect the way you feel, and how does it affect the way other people receive you? How about just when we feel, how we feel when we're wearing a suit? You don't have the same level of mobility. It almost makes your posture more upright. Every man feels different when he puts on a suit, you know, and you might not have to do it often, but you feel different when you put it on. When you have different facial hair, all of it matters. All of it can be approached deliberately and with intentionality.
And there's
As
the
you,
difference right there.
what?
The intentionality,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You said something, and it's funny when you were talking about vitality and how you were expressing it. What was coming to mind was actions speak louder than words. So the words that come out of your mouth might not match what you go and do, but you can go and do that and then have the words come out of your mouth follow afterwards. And I mean, it goes into facing fear and having the courage and everything else, but your voice is just like an instrument. And if you don't practice using it, there's a great guy, Vin Jiang. You can find him on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and he is all about voice and voice training and voice, using your inflection and timing and all of that stuff. And he's more about public speaking, but it's all the same. Inflection.
Yep.
How do you share your energy with pause and with tempo, and when you mean it, it's going to have a different tone than when you're just playing around.
Or when you're just an autopilot.
You can say the same thing
Yeah.
5 different ways, and they're going to have a different meaning to the same person depending on how it comes out of your mouth.
Yes.
And that is just training yourself on how would I like to express this? How do I want this message to come across? Maybe it has to be tense. Maybe it has to be terse. Maybe it has to be direct.
Right.
I want to be heard
Right.
in this moment. What do I say? How do I use my language to do that? Because it's not just tone. It's a matter of how do I, but if you don't practice it, you're going to suck today like you did 10 years ago. I know that. I'm lucky enough. You say brotherhood. I'm lucky enough to have a group of people that when this shit comes out of my mouth, I don't have the words for, I dump it anyways, and then I have an opportunity to like try and fix that, to try and reshape the language in which I use to try and express myself, because it's about that vitality you're talking about, where there's the physical presence, there's there's just the energy that you have in your voice. People hear that, people feel that, people know when you're being kind and full of shit all at the same time.
Yeah.
God bless your heart. Right? Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? The
Yes,
Southern
of
way
course.
of telling
Yeah.
someone to fuck off.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's that energy. You can share that energy with people and get people wound up and get people on your side and get people to believe in you.
Yeah.
Just by having the right energy and tone in your voice, and then going out and doing the thing that you promised them that you would do.
That's the integrity part. But yeah.
You'll get that at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. But yes, 100% vitality is largely energy and presence. And the same way that we can work on our minds and our emotions, and through that we could learn about fears and self-limiting beliefs, when we increase our intentionality and we're willing to look a little bit deeper, we're willing to lean into discomfort, we're willing to objectively explore. When we do that with the external stuff, our posture, our walk, our mannerisms, the way we dress, the way we groom ourselves, the way we show up, the way we stand, the way we speak, we also find habits that we've developed over the years, and it gives us the opportunity to adjust them if we want to. Perfect example is, you said, how would you say something if you know that you really wanted to land? Well, if you had this habit, and a lot of, I've heard this a lot, of ending a statement or a declaration with an upward inflection, you're softening your delivery. You know, I want to be heard turns into, I want to be heard. I want to be heard. It sounds inquisitive. It's not a question. I want to be heard. You know, we should hang out. We should hang out. We should hang out. Why am I putting an upward inflection at the end? It reads as doubt. It reads, or it could read as sarcastic, or it could read as inquisitive when it's not meant to be. We should hang out, bro. We should hang out. I want to be heard.
Right.
You drop it at the end. But these are little things that most of us don't realize we're doing. We're dropping off the ends of our sentences like this, and we don't even realize we're mumbling. And it's like, whoa, what did you just say, bro? Slow down. Slow down. Enunciate. Be heard. Give your words. It's part of your energy. Yeah. It's a fun month. We're actually in it right now in the current Iron Brotherhood cohort. We are in the middle of Vitality Month, and we are doing all of this stuff. We are talking about voice. We're talking about style. These guys are sharing photos regularly. They're going shopping. They're getting shit tailored. And there's guys in the group who are leaders in this area. And that's great, because this is their opportunity to lead the guys who are like, yo, I don't even know where to begin. So if you could share a brand with me, like even just to buy t-shirts, all of that is happening this month. I don't know if anybody changed their facial hair this month, but in the last cohort, like half the fucking guys in the group, we all shaved our beards into mustaches. And that was fun, just to see how it made us feel. Just that it's morphology. It's you know, morphing into a different style, and then seeing what that brings out of you when you see yourself differently in the mirror.
You do not want to see me with a mustache.
Oh, mustaches are fun.
No, dude,
They
Robbie's seen me with a mustache. He'll agree.
Yeah, but that's your self beliefs.
It's your self-limiting belief,
bro.
It
is. When I have a mustache, I look like I'm driving a van without windows.
That's what you think.
That's
not even what I think. That's what other people think.
That's what other people have told you. Hey, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Good news is that it grows back.
It's all right.
Virility, we didn't really get to dive into too much, but virility is a really, really fun topic, especially for men in our age group. You know, guys in their late 30s, 40s, and early 50s. We got to find out what's going on with our testosterone. And that's something that I push in Vitality Month. Is I say, listen, if your doctor hasn't asked you or suggested you get it checked, at least, you know, go find out what it is And then once you know what it is, then you could look at your options if there's anything that you need to do. If your testosterone is low and you want to bring it up, you could go the very conservative route, and you could, just make some diet changes and add some supplements to increase it. Or you can go a little bit more aggressive and you could look at, testosterone replacement therapy or other medications. But you got to know what it is. You got to know what it is. And a lot of doctors these days are not pushing it. Like with women, there's menopause, and you reach a certain age, your doctor says to you, hey, we need to start preparing you for this. Hormone changes. Don't know why that's not happening with men. But men go through hormonal changes, and we have to be prepared for that. And so that's part of it too, is optimizing our virility. That affects our presence 100%. 100% affects our presence.
You're probably like the third or fourth guy now that has mentioned go and get your testosterone checked.
Yeah.
It's got to be like a thing now that you probably should do after you're 40, once you hit 40. But
Yes.
there's the other thing that even the younger generation, they have way lower testosterone than what we did when we were in our 20s.
Yeah.
Right? Like the norm has changed. And I don't know if that's just, I'm going to be talking outside of my face here for a minute, but the first thought that goes through my head is we've, as a society, have railed against men for the past decade. And I almost half wonder is what we think and what we see and what we believe has a physical effect on us. And I don't think we really know or understand what that is, because it sounds woo-woo and a little bit of
doesn't sound woo-woo to
pie in
me.
the
It
sky.
sounds like a combination of nature and nurture.
Yeah,
and
that's
this is
what
how
it.
evolution happens.
Yeah, and I
You
think
breed weaker men, guess what? You're going to start developing generations of men with lower fucking testosterone.
and I
It makes perfect sense to me.
that's what I'm getting at, and I think that's how everything's been pushed, and that's part of the result of it. I'm sure it has something to do with the crap food that we have here in America too, but generally speaking,
the lack of exercise, sitting in a basement, the lack of sun, the lack of movement at all,
the lack of just getting outside and being a boy, being a kid, and just being stuck in front of screens. Likely too, but that's just, I've heard that enough times now that I'm probably gonna just, I know a place that'll check it for free. So
do it, bro. Yeah,
when
go find out.
I'll go and do that. Maybe not when I have my kids here, because that'll take time away from them, but I'll go and do that, and I'll even share the results here.
Yeah.
It's funny you guys are talking about this, because I've had my testosterone checked before, and I'm on the low side. I played around with some substances when I was younger, bodybuilding when I was young and dumb, and I know that it affected it. But now I'm feeling less than normal. And when I was on, a replacement, I felt really good. And I'm feeling that come back again. It messes with my brain, a lot of brain fog, just self-worth, frustration, anger, you name it, a bunch of emotions come along with it. I'm feeling like a bitch, really. And last couple of days, I need to go get tested, because I know what it feels like, because I've been through it before. So it was funny.
Well, this is it. This is your prompt, both of you.
Yeah. Now, but I was just gonna say, Steve, now we got accountability, and Frank, you're gonna hold us to it.
Amen. Yes, I will.
One thing I want to hit before we finish up here is the current situation with health insurance with TRT. It's non-existent. It's bullshit. Women go through menopause. You can go get stuff cut out of your body and get put on replacement therapy or hormone therapy for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Comes to men, no, insurance won't pay for it. I know a lot of men struggle with that. It's expensive. Depending.
Yeah.
We have a clinic here in Rapid City that's like $200 a month, and that you can get your blood tested whenever you want and go see the the doctor whenever you want to tweak your stuff. And I think about $200 a month, and the way times are right now for a lot of people, that's food off the table.
Yeah.
That's car payment. It's insurance. It's a lot of things, right?
It could be less than that, brother.
Yeah. And when I was doing it, it was definitely less. I was going through a company, and it was $80 a month.
Yeah.
And every 6 months they sent me stuff to do my blood work. I'd send it in. It was all online. I get calls from the doctor. It was great, actually. And this route, I want to go through a different revenue because I want to be in person because I got a lot of questions, and I know a lot about this stuff, and I want someone to be upfront with me so I can, talk about this more too, because it is a problem, and it needs to be talked about. We need to find ways to get, and this is what I hear from a lot of people, is that if it's a fear, and there's no courage. This is a courage thing too, so it wraps up into this, that if my testosterone's low, that I'm going to have to take steroids for most of my life. And that is something society got twisted. It is not that
It's
way.
not true.
No, you're not getting a heroic dose of testosterone that bodybuilders get. Let's be real. You're not getting 1,000, you're not taking enough to...
No, seriously, like even you saying that, because that the first thing that goes through my mind is, okay, there's testosterone replacement therapy. What are the risks of that? How long have we been doing it for? What are the studies? Like, I know it exists, but what are the long-term effects? Like, negative, if there are some, of doing that. Will my body stop producing? These are the questions that go through my head. Will my body stop producing its own natural testosterone if I take testosterone replacement therapy? Is there a way that I can do something physically, maybe some supplement or along those lines, where I can say my baseline, whatever number is, 400, say that's my baseline. Can I do something to get me back up to where I naturally should be? Or do I have to artificially inflate that for X amount of time? Like that's what goes through my mind. Right?
These are all valid questions that can very easily be answered by an expert. And it's one of the reasons why I bring this up in Vitality Month, because it's important. Guys have questions. And for the guys who have those questions, I tell them, come to me. We're going to talk about it. In my last cohort, there were a lot of guys who had those questions. And I actually brought somebody in. I brought somebody in who I'm very close with, who owns a men's clinic, and he led a segment, and he taught people, the men, about testosterone and answered a lot of those questions. This current cohort, I didn't have as many, so I didn't bring them in. But yeah, this is absolutely, there are a lot of guys out there who feel the same way as you, which is like, I'm curious about it, but I don't know where to begin in terms of exploring it, and I'm a little scared.
Because I've met some guys locally that I know a guy locally, we just had him on the podcast, that knows the guy who runs the men's clinic here in town.
Okay.
So
then you just need the accountability.
I need the accountability. And the other thing is I was going to go and meet him and go to the clinic anyways. Yeah. And then just say hi. I like to meet people in person. I like to engage with them. I like to know what they're all about. Yeah. And then scope them out to be a guest on the show to talk about testosterone. And
talk about that.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Right. I think it's an important topic to broach.
It absolutely is.
You either don't know about it. I just have heard about it. Like I had heard whispers, but nothing like what I've heard or how often I've heard it recently. Yeah. So I think if it's something that I'm already curious about, well, I might as well just scope out someone and bring them here on the show and then have a conversation.
Yep. Like, you're going to be providing a lot of value because he's going to answer questions that a lot of men have.
And so maybe that's something we do.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Robbie, got anything left?
I love these conversations. I feel like we could do these for hours. We hit big on the first topic, then we touch on the next one.
Actually, I think this time we spent equal amount of time on on both virtues.
The way my squirrel brain goes, it goes down some different rabbit holes or whatever we want to call it. Conversations. Let's just say I like to have conversations about random things. It's all work. But no, we got one more coming up. But I'm often thinking if maybe we could get you for one more, and we go through it all again, and just hit on them again.
Just to drive it all home.
Yeah, because like right now my brain's going crazy, and I know other people's are. Just with the vitality, I'm like, holy cow! Like I've got a lot of work to do in that spot. So I'm excited about it. The next two could do the same thing.
But yeah,
so
I mean,
I need something to bring it home though, like you were saying, like because maybe I missed some stuff because now my brain's going so crazy. But
maybe I need to get you in the Iron Brotherhood.
Yeah, that could be too. I was thinking about that. I'm like, geez, maybe I just need to.
I know. I thought the same thing.
Oh, you guys would crush it. Oh, it would be amazing. Anyway, we don't need to talk about that live.
No. So I love this too. This is great, Frank.
I have fun jamming with you guys. I really do.
Yeah. So, I feel like after next episode is not going to be the last time we see you.
Yeah, I got that vibe too.
Yeah, and I mean that. Like, if you would just feel like you have a topic on your mind and you want to do a pod, literally just shoot me a voice message over. We'll make space.
I love that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Like, it's good. So we got two more virtues coming up.
Yeah, next two are temperance and integrity. And then if we decide collectively that it makes sense to have a fourth episode just to kind of go through, kind of give a summary of what the six were, I'm happy to do that. One thing I forgot to do last time, just in case people are listening and they're like, Frank, where do we find you? We want to hear a little bit more about you. And I did not tell them last time. So if you guys want to find me, the easiest way to find me is just my full name, Frank Paul Vignola. All right. You can find me at my website is frankpaulvignola.com. And you can also find me on Instagram, Vignolagram. So, yeah, I'm sure it'll be in the show notes or whatever, the spelling of that, because I'm not going to do that now. But
I love it. I love the Vignolagram. I just get this picture of some dude Vignolagramming people, like knocking on the door and running away or something, like, or just pulling a prank, lighting a bag of dog shit on fire. Who knows, right? Like something. It's something. I don't know what it is. I love that.
Here's your Vignolagram for the day.
Make t-shirts.
Yeah. That's too good. One
Dude,
of the things...
I just thought of something. I'm sorry.
No, go.
Do you ever... I was just thinking how we started this episode with the How Are You Really? Our energy when we started it versus now. And I just thought to myself, do you ever ask each other at the end, well, now how are you? Because there's been a fucking complete shift since.
It does.
Oh yeah.
Always. I feel great. I feel lighter. My anxiety is completely gone. And laughter, some serious, honest, real conversation always mellows me out and always softens my heart.
Yeah.
I always end up having some more questions. Like, I think about stuff later on, like Robbie does, like the hamster just starts piddling away on the wheel. And I wonder, what is the thing that I need to do next? I'm a very action oriented person. So like, what is the thing I need to do? Yeah. As long as I do the thing, then when I do stuff, it directs my thoughts toward it. Yeah. So I always go action, because I can overthink the crap out of stuff or underthink the crap out of stuff, like not give it as much attention as I should. And when I do that, I just end up forgetting about stuff. So I put action behind it, because then it makes it important. It makes it a thing that I'm going to go and do and explore and dig deeper.
Actions are everything.
That's how I find I don't miss stuff.
Yeah.
Is just by saying, okay, I'm going to go and do this thing today. I don't care if I don't like it. I don't care if I feel like it's going to suck. I don't care about whatever. I'm just going to go and do it.
Hold on to that that big little thing that you just dropped, because that is perfectly aligned with what we're going to talk about next time with temperance.
Oh,
Perfectly aligned.
perfect. Look at that. Okay.
Yeah.
So the one thing I always forget to do, just like you forgot to advertise yourself, to tell people where they could find you, the people that are watching right now, you already know how to find us, but I'm going to try somewhere next episode to not drop this at the very end and say, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, like literally just hit the subscribe button. We'll be back with more episodes, more fun, more laughter, more serious stuff, more guy talk. But if you're watching right now and you haven't hit subscribe, we're not fancy like the other people where the subscribe button's going to show up. No, it's not. So just hit the button. That's it. That's it. I'm being very direct right now with no high inflection.
That's right. That's right.
Right? Do you want to subscribe? Subscribe.
It's not a question. I'm not asking.
Oh man. All right. To the men out there, the ones that are feeling alone, the ones that are feeling stuck, the ones that don't know where to go and don't have anyone to talk about. I know you're out there. If you're listening right now, I see you. We see you.
We feel you.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to reach out. You can reach out to Vignolagram or myself. You can find us at Forged in Silence on Instagram too. You can send us a direct message. One of us will be there. So I just want to say to everyone out there listening right now or watching, thank you. I appreciate you. And till next time. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, brother.